Okay, so I don't really plan to edit this video at all, and if I do, it'd be like minimal editing, so apologies in advance if there are a lot of rough parts where I either like stutter or just think in silence when I'm trying to come up with the next thing to say. But yeah, to get started, this video is more or less to document and reflect on my 3-month progress with learning Japanese. I started learning Japanese in early October of last year, and it's currently January 10th. So yeah, I guess I'll give everyone sort of a look at what I've been doing, and also I guess some tips and what I've thought about the whole process in general. So basically, if you're unfamiliar with Japanese, there are basically three main pillars of the language, being grammar, vocabulary, and kanji. So I've basically been using textbooks because for me, I don't think I could do MIA yet. I need more structured learning. That's kind of what I prefer. If you don't know MIA, don't worry about it. It's just a different way of learning Japanese. But yeah, I also don't like looking stuff up on the internet and looking all around for things. So I preferred a more textbook approach. So this is the Genki Volume 1 textbook. And I also have the workbook. So it's about 12 chapters. Genki, if you know it or don't, it's basically one of the most popular textbooks for learning Japanese. I finished it 2 days ago, finished all the workbook exercises as well. So yeah, cover to cover, it took me about, well, I started in mid-October, the Genki textbook, because I took about 2 weeks to learn hiragana and katakana. So about 2.5 months to get through the whole textbook and workbook. Thoughts on it? I thought it was pretty good. The explanations were always on point. So there was just a few things with vocabulary that I thought were weird. There are adverbs and other expressions that they include in the book, but sometimes they don't always give enough context for how to use those, which I found to be pretty frustrating at times because some of those adverbs and expressions are really useful when making sentences. So I guess that's my one complaint about it. I guess to go through my whole workflow with the Genki textbooks, I have a separate composition notebook that I used, and what I ended up doing is for each chapter, I ended up writing down the grammar as well as the vocabulary, and yeah, it was kind of something I learned in high school when I took language classes that my teacher really stressed was making sure even if you read it, you have to write it so it kind of like retains better in your head. I'm not sure if there's science behind that, but you know, that's just what I did and that's how it stuck. Also, another thing that's worth mentioning is that I watched another YouTuber called Tokini Andy. He kind of did grammar breakdowns and walkthroughs for each lesson in Genki, so if you are working through Genki, I really recommend his videos because I always watch them and they helped cement sort of the grammar in my head, so very useful. So for Genki, now that I'm done with that, for vocabulary in itself is like very situational, especially in a textbook. You can't really expect a textbook to have all the vocabulary you'll ever need for learning a language. So it helps supplement that. I picked up the Tango N5 JLPT 1000 words. I picked it up relatively late. I think I was about halfway through Genki when I bought it, and I actually waited until chapter 10 to start going through it, and even when I went through it a little bit, I was very slow. It was mostly because I wanted to finish all the vocab in Genki before I opened up the Tango N5, so that way there wouldn't be like any overlap, I guess, so to speak, with like learning the same word twice. Like I think that actually happened to me when I reached chapter 11. But now that I'm completely done with Genki, I'm about 700 words through this book. I'm on chapter 8. Really, really nifty and useful resource for sure to help fill in or just give you more words that you can use. Uh, Also, what I started doing is I also started writing down the words that I didn't know in my notebook as well, just to help keep those in my head. And yeah, like everyone else though, I did use Anki. I also used Anki as space repetition system. I don't really have all the knowledge, and nor do I know all the nuances to explain Anki. There's a ton of other videos online from more qualified people that help explain that. So if you're interested, definitely check those out. But yeah, I guess next up we have kanji. So for kanji, I actually didn't use remembering the kanji, which for those of you who aren't familiar, is one of the more popular ways to learn kanji for in the Japanese language learning community. So instead, I actually picked up Kanji Look and Learn. These are made by the Japan Times, the same people who published Genki. I think it's been really good for me. To be honest, when I started kanji, I took a while to start kanji as well, mostly because I was very intimidated by kanji when I picked it up, because I originally bought a dictionary and I thought I was gonna, let me show the dictionary. I picked up this dictionary. I thought I was just gonna look at kanji and memorize it, but that I found out very quickly that was a very, very bad way to learn kanji. So I picked up Kanji Look and Learn as a more structured and focused way to do that. But basically, like I said, I took a while to actually start Kanji Look and Learn, mostly because I was working through Genki at the time and I was still figuring out how to utilize everything at the same time. So it was all very new to me. And yeah, after a while though, I think I actually started Kanji Look and Learn in the later chapters, maybe like chapter 10 as well, when I was in chapter 10 of Genki. So I'm actually a little bit behind compared to where I need to be, or where Genki expects me to be after going through volume 1. So as of now, I know about 136 kanji, and I think Genki expects you to know like 140, 150 kanji, something like that. And I'm not sure if the kanji that I'm learning in Kanji Look and Learn is the same exact kanji that Genki expects me to know. But, you know, since I did start it fairly late, I'm not too worried because I'm pretty happy with the pace that I've been learning kanji. The book divides it into 16 kanjis per lesson, 30 lessons in total, with multiple parts, and parts 1, 2, and 3, respectively being N5, N4, and N3. So, yeah, overall I'm pretty satisfied with it. And there's also the workbook, which is also very good. I really recommend getting the workbook, because this is where you sort of cement everything you've learned in the actual textbook. So if you are thinking about looking into Kanji Look and Learn, definitely recommend getting both of those. But like my textbook with Genki, in terms of grammar, I did write every single kanji that I learned down in a separate notebook, and I wrote the readings on the back as well as the English definitions. So yeah, that's sort of my workflow for kanji. And now that some other resources that I have, now that I'm done with now that I'm at like sort of an N5 level, and after finishing Genki, of course, the next thing that I plan to do is start Genki 2. So Genki 2 is the second volume, Genki 2. It's 11 more lessons, I believe. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it's basically designed to get me at the N4 level by the time I'm finished with it. I have both the textbook and workbook, as you can see. I'm not sure how long it'll take me to get through it. I expect it to take me about as much as it took me for Genki 1 the first time. But yeah, I haven't started it yet, even though I did finish Genki 1, because there are a few vocabulary and grammar points that I want to review before I go ahead and get started on Genki 2, but I will probably be starting this within a few days, maybe 1 or 2 days, so I'm kind of very excited for that. Also, Tokini Andy has a series where he covers Genki 2. His videos also cover Genki 2. So again, shout out to Tokini Andy because his videos are very, very useful for me. And other than that, I have the Kanzen Master series for N4. These were actually Christmas presents, so that was pretty cool. I got them from my aunt. It covers reading, listening, grammar, and kanji. So, I don't know, I'm not sure how I'll introduce these into my workflow with studying Japanese, but I definitely intend on it because I know for a fact that after going through the Genki 1 textbook and Genki 2 will probably be more or less the same. I know that the reading isn't always the most challenging, so I know that the reading from the Kanzen Master series will definitely be useful. Listening, definitely having more challenging listening practice. Grammar, I know that Genki's 1 and 2, there are a few grammar points that it doesn't teach that are tested on the JLPT N4 that the Kanzen Master series covers that Genki doesn't. And then as for kanji, I kind of have my own way with kanji look and learn about how to, with my whole kanji workflow that I sort of explained, briefly mentioned. But I mean, it's always good to have more practice, so I'll definitely be taking a look at this, and if I don't like it, then I won't use it. Simple as that. Now I guess for other resources that are worth mentioning, I think I mentioned earlier Anki, space SRS. I've been using that to insert all my vocabulary and kanji for all my learning. I also did buy the mobile app for it, which is it's expensive. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty expensive. But if you have the money, I think it's a worthwhile investment because being able to study vocabulary and kanji on the go whenever I'm out and about, grocery shopping or things like that, it's very, very useful. I really enjoy it. As for reviewing grammar, I really haven't found a way to sort of focus on that, which is interesting, but I actually looked on this website called, I looked on YouTube and there's this website called Boompro. So it's an SRS specifically devoted to grammar learning, which I'm definitely thinking about checking out because although I am finished with Genki 1 and I'm going on to Genki 2, I'm only a human, so there's definitely gonna be times where I forget grammar points as I'm learning new ones. So I think having Boompro as a grammar dedicated SRS will definitely be coming in handy. I don't know the next time that I'll make a video, but if I do make a video, I'll definitely give more detailed thoughts on it. But for now, I tried it for the first 3 grammar lessons that were basically like ha, des, and da, so it's pretty easy, not that challenging. But I did like the reviews on YouTube that I watched of it, so definitely checking that out. So another thing that have on my phone, but I don't really use as much if I'm being honest, in terms of immersion, because I don't really do MIA, so it's like what I consider to be immersion. There's this app called Easy Japanese by Todai on my phone. It basically gives free Japanese articles. You can sort of read them based on difficulty, JLPT difficulty. So N5, N4, N3, N2, N1. Yeah, to be honest, I don't really use it as much as I should. I'm really hoping that I do use it more because I think definitely reading text outside of, and Japanese in general outside of Genki and textbooks is always a plus because, you just learn more that way, pick up new words, and things like that. So I guess one last thing that I have for listening, there's this website called Animelon. It gives Japanese anime with Japanese subs. So that's something that I've been sort of gotten into, and I plan to do more of because I really like it. There's also, I guess that'll help sort of with my listening, which I know people always say anime isn't the greatest source of listening practice, but the way that it was explained to me by a friend, whatever you do to consume like native material, and as long as you're enjoying it, I think there's really no wrong way, because there's so many ways to learn a language. I could be wrong, but for now I do like it, and I don't really have any alternatives other than the Kanzen listening, but it has a CD, and I don't have a CD player. But yeah, for now, I really like going through Animelon and watching shows that I've already seen, and watching them with Japanese subs. It definitely gives like a whole new type of experience to watching these shows. And for how I watch the shows, because I have only finished Genki 1, so that's only about an N5 level, and it's kind of, you can't expect to pick up all the things that you see in anime after after going through Genki 1. So there was actually this post on Reddit that I saw, and I'll actually link it in the description as well, along with all the other resources that I'm mentioning in this video. But basically this Reddit post, it was made by a native Japanese person who teaches Japanese, I believe, and they went and rated all these shows, or most popular anime, or anime that they've seen. They rated it by difficulty according to JLPT level, and there's actually a fair amount of shows that only expect about an N5, N4 level, N3, N2, N1, things like that. So some shows that I've been watching recently is Your Lie in April. Pretty good anime. I think it's gonna be like the fourth time I've watched it, the fourth time I've watched it, but the first time I've watched it with Japanese subs. So it's definitely been an experience, and although I don't pick up every little thing that they're saying, even after having it scaled down to like where I should be, N5, N4 difficulty, there are, I would say, about for every maybe 10 sentences I can pick up like one or two, and the rest I kind of just fill in from what I see on the screen. So yeah, that's basically how I'm getting more listening practice outside of textbooks, because I do know that learning Japanese through a textbook, it'll get you somewhere, but it won't take you all the way. So I guess now for the future, what I plan to do is right now at least, I am in college. I'm a first year, so with Japanese, I've kind of been learning it in my off time. So because of the whole coronavirus situation, whenever I have so much free time being at home, whenever I finish my college work, I would just study Japanese for about 2 to 3 hours every day. Because I could do that, and there was really nothing else for me to do. So, yeah, that was kind of been my whole thing with Genki 1, but I'm actually enrolled in a Japanese class at my college for next semester, spring semester. I'm on vacation, I'm still on winter vacation right now, actually. I start class in about a week, and so I'm taking Japanese. I'm pretty sure that class is scaled more at an N5-ish level, so the textbooks, although they're different, will probably more or less cover the same concepts touched in Genki. Might add a little bit more, might learn new vocab, but nevertheless, I think that it's good for me to still take that class. I believe there's a placement test for it, so there's a possibility that I can get placed out of it. But I think that by taking that class, it'll really help to reinforce the things that I learned in Genki, and teach me new vocab. There might be more challenging readings in there as well, more reading comprehension practice, and speaking, because speaking is something that I kind of didn't really get the chance to do too much. I did have someone, luckily, who helped me get through Genki 1 exercises, but other than that, I didn't really do too much speaking practice. So being in a classroom setting with other people who are speaking Japanese and having a teacher, definitely feel like that's definitely a step up and worth taking the class for. So yeah, other than that, I guess I plan to make another video in maybe 3 months, so by then it'll be my sort of 6-month progress with learning Japanese. But yeah, by then I'm hoping that I can get through most of the resources that I showed in this video, being Genki 2, Kanji Look and Learn, the Kanzen Master Series, the Tango N5, and I also did buy the Tango N4 book, so those will be coming. And yeah, other than that, I don't really have much to say, but if you are interested in learning a language, whether it be Japanese or not, I highly recommend it. So I guess the biggest tips that I can give to someone are just, it's kind of hard to learn a language if you don't have passion or motivation or any goals for it. So definitely set goals for yourself. You have to be extremely dedicated. It's not something, languages, from what I learned in these 3 months, it's not something you can put down and pick up right away. You have to be continually working towards it every day, whether that be 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, an hour, 2 hours. It's something you have to do constantly. So it really does not matter about your intelligence other than to, like, understand and comprehend things. It's sheer repetition. But I mean, other than that, I think I'm gonna end the video there. Thank you so much for watching and making it through to the end if you did. And yeah, I guess I will see you in 3 months.